Okay. Okay, so today we're gonna do mainly Node.js. Okay, today is just gonna be Node.js. And how many of you guys actually done IGCSE computer science, like given the examinations? How many of you have done it? More specifically, or if we're being more specific, how many of you have done paper 2 of our IGCSE? Because if you guys have done paper 2, you're gonna do it next day. Because if you guys have done even a little bit of paper 2, just Python or pseudocode, then this is gonna be really easy for you. But as I promised from day one, I promised you guys one thing. I'll take you guys along this path. We both are gonna take you guys along this path, as in you don't even know how to use a freaking computer. All right. So today, what we're gonna do is we are going to cover, what do you call it? We're going to cover constants. We're gonna cover variables. We're gonna cover conditional statements. You know, all that IGCSE shit. You're gonna learn this in IGCSE, right? You're gonna learn this in IGCSE computer science. Okay. I forgot the code. It was 0625 or something. Okay. You're gonna learn this in IGCSE computer science, but we're teaching it here right now. It's 0478. Yeah. Okay. We're teaching it here right now. All right. So if you guys have done it in IGCSE, it's gonna be extremely easy. If you guys have not, do not worry. We're gonna guide you. I promise you this day, since day one, we're gonna guide you as if you guys have no clue how a simple program works. Okay, let me just pull it up. Okay, so at this point, you all are familiar with Visual Studio Code, right? And how file names work, file extensions work, and all of that stuff. I hope that you guys are familiar with it. And I also hope that at this point you guys have downloaded the Node.js driver. If you didn't, just go over, type Node.js on Google. Oh wait, Node.js on Google, and just download and install Node. Okay, this is all you need. Okay, just this is Mac OS. I'm pretty sure that it's like an executable file on Windows. Okay, so just download Node.js and you'll be fine. Okay, so let's talk about JavaScript itself, right? So we did a bit of JavaScript yesterday, and we did a bit of scripting, which is just JavaScript inside of an HTML file. But today, all we're gonna do is we're gonna do plain old JavaScript. Okay, you guys know how in Python. First of all, let me introduce you to a new thing in Visual Studio Code, or if you've been keeping it up with Bunch, especially in our last lecture, you should already know this. In the bottom left corner will be this kind of thing, right? This is the faster way to get it. Okay, so there's gonna be this thing right over here. Okay, this error thing. All you have to do is click on it, and this tab is gonna pop up if it hasn't already. Now just click on terminal, and this is going to be your terminal. Okay, you can add a lot more terminals depending on your usage, but typically you won't. Right now you won't need more than one terminal. Okay, so let's begin JavaScript. The first thing that you're gonna know is console.log hello world. Now, how do I exactly run this, and what does this do? Let me show you guys. First of all, to run this, I will type node, Node, node. That is the name of the driver that we're using, and then the file name. Okay, node main.js. As you can see, it logged hello world. Also, if you want to run this command over and over again, you can just press the upper arrow key, and you can just like spam it or something. Okay, so node main.js. Let's look at this line in specific. Okay, so if I zoom in over here, you can see first of all, console.log. This is a basic function. Okay, this is a basic function that we use in JavaScript. Your terminal. Okay, we call this the console. Okay, you're basically logging to it. There's other methods as well, such as console.error. Okay, but that's a bit different. That just comes out in red. Okay, like it's an error. Okay, so there's console.log, there's console.error, right? So basically, you're just typing out console, and then you add a dot, and you can see all of these different things, right? All of these different methods. Okay, you can see there's log, there's info, all of that, right? So hello world, right? So you can see there's all of that. Okay, but for now, we're just going to use console.log. Okay, if you guys want, you can go over these methods yourself as well. Okay, let me just see. And okay, great. So console.log hello world. This is equivalent to print hello world in Python, right? Simple, basic. I'm gonna start telling you guys a bit about Python as well as we go. Because especially if you're doing IGCSE. I mean, we are in an IGCSE server, so yeah, this is gonna be like fun for you guys. Okay, so console.log hello world. Okay, hello world was printed. Now let's spice things up a bit. Okay, imagine this. Okay, you want to assign a certain thing a certain value. Okay, you just want to assign a certain thing a certain value. For that, we have three types of methods. Okay, we have the first method is const, the second method is let, and the third method is var. Okay, these are the three main ones. Okay, const, this stands for constant. If you've done IGCSE Computer Science, you'll know that constant is a type of variable that does not change. Okay, and these two are just used to define variables. You can just say that they're used to define variables. Okay, and this green thing that I did right over here, this is called a comment. In HTML, we learned that it was exclamation mark dash dash, and in JavaScript, it's three ways. You can do slash slash for a one-line comment. This is a single-line comment. All right, you can do slash star star slash, okay, for a multi-line comment. Or if you want to be fancy, you can do slash double star, and it's going to be like a multi-line comment which has a star at front. Though this is usually used for specifying parameters, and we're not going to go into this yet. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to use this one most likely for writing because I'm too lazy to like type star slash star forward slash. Okay, so as I was saying, right, so let's use const. Okay, const pi is equal to 3.14. This is a common example. Okay, every single teacher always teaches this. Okay, now what I can do is in console.log these parentheses. Okay, we know that this is a function. This is basically a function, a library routine. Okay, and we are basically passing the constant that we just declared, the constant pi, into this routine, into this function. Now you'll see it prints out 3.14. Okay, we can also set this to anything. Okay, we can do it to false, and it will print out false. We can set it to a string like Atib Sohail, right? It'll print it out like that. Okay, you can do an equation in it. It's all the basic stuff that you learned in IGCSE CS, right? You can do arithmetic. What is arithmetic? Arithmetic is kind of, I think it was like plus minus divide slash forward slashes divide, asterisk for a star, and you can group them with using parentheses and so on, right? There's also mod, or I probably got this number wrong, but basically, yeah, there's a lot of stuff, right? So where was I? Yeah, okay, so you can define constants, and then you can pass those constants into functions. Okay, now let's talk a bit about variable, or the let command. Okay, now if I have a variable, okay, if I have a variable and I want to change this variable, what I'll do is I'll do let var name, or I'll just say student name is equal to Akram Shahzad, right? If I console.log student name right now, it's gonna say Akram Shahzad, right? Let's just say I want to change this. Okay, student name. All I'll do is type the variable name, and I'll do Shahzad Akram, and then I'll log it again. Student name. So now it says Akram Shahzad Akram. One thing that you need to know about programming, mostly it goes line, 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 line. So it goes here, then here, then here, then here. Another important thing to know about Visual Studio Code is like there's this thing called a breakpoint. If I do that, you're gonna see basically it's like stops the code at that point. Okay, just stops the code at the point. Okay, all right. So if we do the same thing with a const, it's gonna tell us that womp womp, you can't change the stuff. Assignment to constant variable. Okay, so that's I think that's enough about variables. Let's talk a bit about conditional statements. There's two types of conditional statements. Main conditional statements is if and if else, if or else, right? If else, if else, In Python, we write it as if, elif, else, right? It's basic, okay? And the second type is what we call a switch, basically just case. All right, so we're gonna cover both of them, okay? Let's just say that we have a answer is equal to B. Okay, let's just say it's an MCQ question. It can be either A, B, C, or D. And let's just say the correct answer is, let's just say C. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to basically check to see if this is true or if this is C or not. So, the simple way to do that is do an if. And remember, we're going to use a lot of these parentheses. Alright, JavaScript is basically a lot of brackets. A lot of these circle brackets and curly brackets, okay? So you're going to learn that syntax. You're going to get the hang of it after a while. If parentheses answer is equal, right? So this compares type as well. This compares reference. We're not going to go into that right now. If answer is equal to B, then what we're going to do is we're going to console.log your answer is correct. Okay? Else, same thing, curly brackets. We're going to console.log your answer is incorrect. Okay? Basic stuff. Basic stuff. 3 equal signs, yes. There's two things that you have to look for. 3 equal signs basically it compares the reference and value. 2 equal signs compare the what do you call it? Compare the, what do you say? Sorry, I just realized that this should be C. My bad. 2 equal signs compare the value only. Yeah, exactly. We'll get into why we did that later. Right. Okay. So let's run this. Right now the answer is B. We press enter. Your answer is incorrect. The correct answer is C. And if we change our answer to C, you're gonna see that it says your answer is correct. So that is the basic what do you call it? That is the basic if else statement, right? Everybody's familiar with this. Let's just say that if it is C, if it is D, then I want to output you're an idiot, because let's just say the question is 1 plus 1, A is 11, B is 1 space 1, C is 2, and D is like 69,420.8475, right? So if you choose D, you're an idiot, right? So what I'll do in this case is I will add an else if statement. So I'll just go back here behind it after this bracket, and I'm going to type else if, and I'm going to specify the second condition, which is going to be answer is equal to D, and I'm going to do the curly brackets again, and I'm going to console.log you are a freaking idiot. Okay, and if I do node main.js right now, you're going to see my answer is correct. If I change it to D, my answer is okay, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. And if I change it to A, you're going to see it says your answer is incorrect. Or if I change it to B, you're going to see that the answer is incorrect. Now there's a problem here. If I enter an invalid input, like if I enter something like this, it's gonna say sorry, your answer is incorrect. Okay, and I'm not gonna be a stupid guy who like just writes a bunch of else if statements like else if answer is equal to B, then do this. Else if its answer is equal to C, then do this. What if instead of A, B, C, D, there's also E, F, G, H, I, you know, a lot of options. So what we're going to do in this case, especially when it comes to multiple choices and you know all the choices, we're going to do switch. Okay, let's just change it back to B. Okay, all right, so switch. Let's talk about switch. So for switches, you need to type switch and do parentheses and then do answer or whatever variable that you are using. Now the thing with switches is, the thing with if then else switches, I mean, like we did this in IGCSE computer science. Okay, when you're using a switch or when you're using a what do you call this, when you're using a case off, you're directly comparing the values. You're automatically applying the equal to thing, like is this variable equal to that, or is this variable equal to that, or blah blah blah, right? Whereas in if else you can add other operators. All right, so in the switch you're directly comparing a value. You can't really do anything else. Okay, so switch answer, and honestly it's not worth it. I don't even think that you can you add right, you can add conditions, but at this point that just use if else. All right, so switch answer. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna type all the cases. So There's a case of the guy saying A. There's a case of the guy saying B. There's a case of a guy saying C. And then there's a case of a guy saying D. Alright, now good practice in this scenario is to write break. Alright, meaning that if the answer is indeed that, why go through all of the other statements, right? Also, a switch is comparatively faster. Though it's almost unnoticeable, it's comparatively faster to an if-else statement. So if you know the choices, meaning that you know that it's gonna be what what the options that you have, then you should opt for a switch if you're directly comparing them. Okay? If you're directly comparing them. Alright? So let's just say that if it's an A, let's just say that I want it to be point based, okay? So if the guy selects A, he gets 10 points. If the guy selects B, then he gets 20 points. If the guy selects C, he gets 100 points. And if the guy selects C, he gets 0 points because he's a fucking idiot, right? So, let's check this out, okay? So, let's do A. Okay, now we're going to just do console.log. You get 10 points. Then we're going to do console.log here again. You get 20 points, right? Then we're going to do console.log again. And right here, we're going to add, you get 100 points. And I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it over here. You get 0 points. Right. So if I save this right now, you're going to see you get 20 points. You get 20 points. Great. If I change it to C, you'll see you get 100 points. If I change it to D, you get 0 points. And if I change it to A, I'm going to get 10 points. Now, let's see what happens if I change it to something that was not in the case. The file just ends. Nothing is logged. So let's just say that I wanted to log something at the end, okay? Let's just say that I wanted to log, how do you not know how to type into a computer, especially if you're given the statements itself, okay? So, what we do for that is we use a default keyword, okay? In this default keyword, we're basically saying that if the above things aren't happening, then execute this. How the fuck do you not know how to type into a keyboard? Right? So now let's run this. It's gonna start cursing at us, you know? Exactly. Because you type some random BS into the entire thing. Right. So that is how switches and what do you call it? How switches and if-else statements work. Do you guys have any questions? You can use Notepad. Don't do this. I once coded on a what do you call it? I once coded on Microsoft Word because school was an absolute idiocy. Okay. How do we properly incorporate? Okay, so you can review yesterday's class for that, or you can wait. Okay, so there's the recording. The recording is gonna be uploaded soon. We're not gonna do. Yeah, you can use the script tag, but we're not gonna do anything regarding HTML. So we're just using JavaScript. I mean, no JavaScript. You know you can listen. I gotta clarify something, guys. You're using the application to open the file up. You're opening the file up. File open. You're not running the program. You're through the program. Sorry, you're not running the code through the program. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. If I close Visual Studio Code, or if I turn up my terminal and I go to the folder, right? I go to document cd, cd teach fsd, right? If I go here and I do the same thing, it's not the program. It's just you to edit the script. Okay, all right. Now let's go to a bit more complicated topic. There's one thing that I forgot to mention. There is something that we like to call inline if-else statement. So the first one was basic, right? Blah 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 blah. The second one was also basic. Now the third one is normally used to assign to a variable. Okay, so for instance, let is correct answer equal to answer is equal to C. Then we're gonna write. Then we're gonna just do true, or we can just do correct. colon incorrect. Now this may seem a little confusing, do not worry, okay? So let's just log this right now just to see how what it does. Incorrect. If I change this to C, however, it's gonna say correct. Okay, so right now it seems very confusing, but let me indent this for you. All right, if answer is equal to that, then do this, else do this. Okie dokie. All right, so this should be a bit less confusing. Okay, so this is what we call inline if statements. We basically first we specify the condition, and after that we add a what do you call this, a question mark. All right, and if the resultant of this is true, meaning that the condition is true, then this gets used. Okay, this gets executed, or else this is used to specify the else this gets executed. Okay, so it's basically if else, except here it's just this for a comma like true and this for a false condition. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing. The question mark is for specifying like, is this true, is this it, right? So it's just used for like a kind of short method of what do you call this, just using an if statement, right? A short method. Sorry about that. Okay, let's move on. Let's do the lovely topic that we all love to do. Freaking functions. Okay, let's just say that we're an absolute stupid idiotic programmer, and we're basically going to write a function that returns a Boolean value, true or false. Let me write it down as well. Write a function that returns a true or false value depending on the answer given by user and answer given by administrator. Okay, const answer is equal to C. All right, so we're just going to say that the correct answer is equal to C. Correct answer is equal to C, and we're going to do let user answer equal to A. All right, what we're going to do here is we're going to type another thing. We're going to see that use two parameters, one user answer and one true answer. Okay, we use two parameters. Okay, and what do you call it? We're going to use two parameters. So what do you say? Right, so let's code this function. Basically, let's just think, okay? Let's just think for a bit. What we're going to do is we're going to create a function, and we're going to take in two parameters, and we're just going to compare to see if those two parameters are, what do you call it? So if it's two parameters are equal. What the parameter? I'll explain that. Okay, so remember, there's this thing. Whenever you're defining a function, you write the word function. Okay, no def or something like that. You just say function. You write the function name, or stupid grade calculate. Sorry, and you write the curly brackets. Okay, so we just had a function. Now this thingy, this parenthesis over here, this is where the what do you call it? The parameters go in. What is the parameters? It is basically a variable inside of the function. It's limited scope. Okay, so it's basically used inside of the function and it's provided into the function. Yes, exactly. So we were told to use two parameters: user answer and true answer. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna write the function itself that returns a true or false value. Now the easiest way to do this is to do return user answer or is equal to true answer, right? But when stupid, right, we're gonna write trash code. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do an if statement. So if user answer is equal to true answer, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna return true, else we're gonna return false. Okay, basics, right? So what we have done here is we've created a function that takes in a user answer and returns and the true answer and returns the value, like just returns to see if it's true or false. Okay, so how does this work? Let's just do console.log And what we're gonna do is we're gonna write the name of the function. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pass the parameters from above. So the user answer and then the correct answer. Right? Do note that it's not necessary that the parameters here, the variable name here has to be same with, like, here it can be anything like user t answer. It just has to match. Sorry, it just has to match. So let's just note main.js. Okay, false. If we change this to C, however, it says true. All right, so that is conditional statements, functions, variables in Node.js. Once, am I missing out anything before we move on to JS itself?
Nope, you're not. That's it.
Okay, objects. Should we do objects?
Yeah, we could move on to arrays objects.
Sure, you wanna lead that? You wanna go with that?
All right, sure.
Okay, great. All right, guys. Now when she's gonna continue the rest of the lecture, I'll be sitting here drinking water and whatnot.
All right. Please give me a sec. I'll stream. Um, so let's start with a new JS file. Let's name it script.js, and let's try it. Oh, script. Yes. So we have it working. So let's start off with arrays. They are basically lists of values that you provide to one single variable. So, for example, if you say, let questions equals array, and then maybe what's this? Um, one sec. What's the speed of light? And maybe what's the speed of sound? So it's in this example we're taking multiple strings and putting them into one array named questions. So if we just log that really quick, yes, we can see the two values. And yes, you could take this to any degree. So for example, you could make an array inside of the array and maybe write 330 meters per second, and maybe here, wait, 330 million meters per second or whatever. And you could add another value here. So for example, 330 meters per second. So we're creating arrays inside of arrays. So we're going to call this two-dimensional because it's one set of arrays inside another set of arrays. So yeah, that's two dimensions. And if we log that, you can see, yes, now, one particularly useful thing that we're going to be doing with arrays is looping through them. So, for example, if I write down for, and if we put parentheses, now this will look familiar if you're coming from Python or any language taught in ICT, but you could take question of questions, and that's the syntax. So we use normal brackets after typing for. We create a variable, so we could put, for example, let question of questions, and then you use curly brackets to run the actual code. So, for example, if we do console.log, um, question is QUES, and if you run that, you can see question and the date of that question has been given. And that's run for each of the questions here. If you put down like a lot of questions, it will run this code for each of them. And there's another piece of syntax to keep in mind. So for example, QUES here is a one-dimensional array. So it's this array. So we could put square brackets in front of QUES like this and type down 0. So 0 means that we're going to be looking at the first item inside of the array. So indexes in JavaScript start with 0. So if you put down quest 0, it refers to this. If you put down quest 1, it refers to this, and so on. So if you put down 0, you can see that all of the questions are printed in plain text form. And you could use this console log again and type down answer question one. So it would console like log like this, and maybe add an empty log afterwards. But the point is that the for loop runs it for each of these items. Yes, so that's erased for you. One sec. Yes, perfect. And one another data type that is particularly important when we're using JavaScript in the web, it's called objects. And objects are basically pairs of keys and values. So we're going to be improvising on this question script that we created. So for example, if I type down let questions equals to, and this time we're going to be using curly brackets. And for example, if I type down the speed of light, and you could use string here and write down say 3 whatever meters per second. And if you log that and run it using node, you can see it's outputting using curly brackets the speed of light and this meters per second. So one thing that you can do here to improve upon your code is just use single worded keys. So this is the key, this is the value. So if you're using single worded keys, one thing that you can do is do questions.light, and it's going to be printing this value. So you can look up on objects like this. So if I put down like sound 330 meters per second, um, so water sound 3000 meters per second, and whatever, you could use these keys and find the values using the object. So if you're coming from Python, this is pretty similar and almost identical to the dict data type that we use. And so, for example, we use objects without even knowing it. When, for example, here we created a button, and if we look at the HTML code for it, we used button dot on click equals, and we use the function syntax. So we put down this function inside the on click value of button. So let's look at what this button object actually looks like from the HTML tag that we used. So for example, const button equals to. So this is what this code did. It created an on click property, and then it created this function that we used, click handler, inside this on click. So you could go to the whoops, you could go to the dev tools and to the console and look at what the button actually is. So if we type down button and button dot on click, you can see that it was assigned click handler. So this means the button here is an object. And one pretty handy tool that you can use is just typing down type of button, and it tells you right here that it is in fact an object. And you can set other properties of it. For example, if I do on hover equals console.log, so whenever you hover something, it would log to the console the fact that you have hovered. So let's try it. Whoops. Yeah, it doesn't really work. I don't know why, but let's come back to this later. The point is that when you're using HTML tags and referring to them inside of your JavaScript code, you're basically referring to objects, and that makes it a lot easier to set properties such as on click. So yes, that's arrays and objects in a nutshell. Ajeeb, do you want to continue? Wow. Is my name really that hard to pronounce? I'm confused.